Welcome back to another episode of STEM in Stilettos. This is your host, Zofia Morales, and I am back here today with a new guest, and we are going to discuss from chaos to command, scaling with systems, not stress. Our guest today is Katie Hahn, and she is a systems strategist and creator of the Climb framework, a precision growth system for women entrepreneurs who want to scale without the chaos. With 16 plus years of experience leading multi-million dollar companies, Katie helps high performing CEOs install back-end systems, leadership tools, and data driven structures that create substantial profit and freedom. She's the founder of Katie Hahn Coaching, the host of the Coaching Growth Lab, and the creator of the CEO Scaling Scorecard, a diagnostic that helps founders identify bottlenecks before they become the breakdowns. Katie's approach blends strategy and structure, helping women scale calmly, not chaotically, no fluff, no hype, just operational clarity and results. Welcome, Katie. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, me too. I'm a systems lady from way back, and so you're singing to the choir over here. We'll probably sing in
Awesome.
chorus at some point.
Awesome. I love people who understand it.
So tell me a little bit about your backstory. Who were you before you became the amazing systems woman?
Well, it built me is I am a scientist by trade. I'm an atmospheric scientist, and so my entire life has been around building systems. And it's really, you have a system. Everybody learned way back when you did scientific discovery and you had the scientific process. It's about systems. And being part of meteorology, we talk about systems and how things go together. So my mind has always been in that place. I also have a background in coding because of being a meteorologist. And so, in that, it's about building the right systems to do and what I wanted it to do. So,
Yeah.
I've learned a long time ago about these systems. And as I progressed through my career, I was on television. I also have my master's in education and curriculum and design with technology in the classroom. I took that and did a lot of things in the classroom to create the systems that would drive improvement in scores in the education world and in a middle school and high school. So I've always really just enjoyed putting things in place to get to an end goal. It's kind of like the domino effect. Once I start here, this is going to cause this and this and this. But there's also ways to evaluate it. When I had the opportunity, I actually was asked to lead a company, an IT company. And I was drinking from a fire hose. And I have this,
I'll bet you were.
yeah, especially not being the person who comes from a business world. I was a scientist and an educator and curriculum director, and I led IT departments, but I did not run a company.
Yeah,
And I
which
had to
is
learn
a
the
whole
hard way.
different kettle of fish. I mean, there's a lot of overlap and commonalities, but still.
I learned the hard way, but I was always data driven. So it made my life a little easier. I understood systems. I could say, okay, here's what I can do. Here's that information I needed. But I learned, just like everybody else, like I was stretched way too thin. I had chaos because I was trying to learn everything. I also thought I needed to be a part of everything. But
Mm.
really, what I figured out was, and this is back to being a scientist and then being able to translate information by being a teacher. There's really three parts to a business to make it really an ability to run smoothly. And it was more on me to figure this out and implement it than it was for somebody to tell me. And for me, it was I needed that data and insights because I
Mhm.
needed to know what to do with it. I
Right.
had to have the right systems in place. But even if I had those two, if I didn't know how to think like a CEO, none of it mattered. You know,
Yeah,
if I
you
could, if
need
I
to
got,
what to do with those the
yeah.
data and where to point those systems.
So for me, it was okay, I need to learn to think like a CEO. And that's really where I relied on my community. I was a Rotarian and still am and really tried to tap into the knowledge of those business people. And I absorbed anything I could from anybody who would tell me what are their failures, things like that. And I didn't want to do it the hard way. But of course, I still did, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you don't know what you don't know until you've stepped into it a lot of times.
Yes, but I did learn from a very smart person. They said, fail fast. That's all you got to do is fail fast evaluate, and move on. Failure, it's not a problem. It's actually a great tool. And we use
Yeah,
it in,
failure is data.
yes, in science, we don't call it failures. That's part of the process. And
Yeah, it's just an experiment.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I know what that means, but that was like kind of failures is dirty word on this side, but really it's not. It's amazing. And I was able to kind of take that. And once I really got in and then got excited about the business side, I really started to learn that, of course, it's back to the scientific, how it aligns. And there's phases within business. And when you're in a certain phase, it's always going to be the same way. It doesn't matter what type of business. And those three maturity phases of business are chaos, stabilization, and optimization. So if you
Yes.
know where you're at, you can actually say, I know I'm here and I need to move here, but here's what I need to do to get there.
Yeah.
And that was like, this makes it easy. It's kind of just like saying, how do, anything like, how do I cook a meal? You follow a recipe. I have raw ingredients, I have cooked ingredients now. And there's a method to doing that. And once you understand that, it makes life a lot easier, as well as it takes all that chaos. And we talk about chaos in a fun way all the time. Oh, it's just chaotic. It's just chaos. No, it's a real phase. And there's something you can do about it,
Yes.
get out of it, and then you can have that real growth that you really want.
Exactly. So talk to me about what each of these phases look like in case we're a little hazy on where we are right
Yeah.
now.
And most people don't know about it. If you're really in business or you're in a large corporation, they talk about it. But generally, small businesses don't. And I'm going to say a failure of those who work with small businesses because they could really help them identify those steps. And I can say that as running multiple small businesses and understanding that I would have been a lot easier if somebody could have just told me this up front. We all learn the hard way. So, chaos is really being reactive. Easiest thing to think about. You do things repetitively, you do it over and over. You don't have a method set up that you're going to do it the same every way or a way that can be automated. You may not have systems in place. Lots of people feel chaos. And it's not just that you don't have things in place. You might have systems in place, but are they working? Are you evaluating them? So, chaos is really about being reactive, and you can be making a ton of money, but still being reactive and not moving yourself into stabilization.
Yeah.
Stabilization is that first step to removing yourself. And people say, oh, but I'm just a solopreneur. That's okay. There are things you can do, for example, automation.
To remove yourself and to get your cycles back.
Yes. And then it's as simple as what we have already talked about. I come on your show and you say, fill out this form. The form automatically goes into your go high level and it starts to set up what you need to do, which are automations for email reminders, things like that. That's a system that can be put in place that removes you from doing it, which is going to give you results that are more predictable. Now, if somebody doesn't follow the results, now you know where that's from. But if somebody follows it, you now know all your data is in one spot and where it is and what you need to do with next with it to connect it to the next system.
Yes,
So,
and I don't have to think about setting up the Zoom room and all of that kind of fooling around because
yes,
the system does it.
yes, and that's exactly it. Now, when you have people working for you, a VA or a team, part of that is, yes, setting up systems, but also having SOPs. And so I know lots of people who are in chaos, but they have SOPs because they don't follow them. And so
Yes.
it's
Or
one
they
of those,
haven't updated it since it was created.
yes. So that's kind of okay. It's that middle ground, but really it's allowing you to be more proactive in your business. It's that first step of moving away and saying, things are moving without me consistently. And that's really that word is consistently, and you're putting in place. Once you move to that optimization, that is when things are humming. Things are moving without you, and you really have that time to have CEO time where you're working on your business, not in your business. Now, as a solopreneur, we're always going to have to work in our business in some capacity, but there's time set aside, and the majority of the time is actually set aside to work on your business, not in your business. And so that's the three phases when you look at it in that way.
I love that. And it's helpful to look at it that way. And even as you were talking, I'm like, okay, we're moving out of chaos. There's systemization and structure going on. I can step away and stuff continues to happen. I'm like, I'm doing better than I thought I was. And I had this moment where it's like, I've been guilting myself because I have been stepping away. And so
Oh, no, you
that's got to stop.
well, you should be able to, that you're in stabilization, that you can step away and things don't fall. Like my test always is, you'll know you're in stabilization for the most part because it's stable. That means you can walk away for a week and your business still is going to go. It's not that everything's going to crash, your revenue is going to go down. All those things will still stay afloat. I mean, things that if you have to do an online session, things like that are a little different. But for the most part, the back end systems will go without you for a
Yes.
week.
Yay. We
You're
like
not,
that.
it's the big thing. I love to take vacations, but I don't want to work on my vacation. That's not really,
Amen. Amen. That picture of the lady on the beach with her laptop, that's like, no, no,
no.
no. Just me, the beach chair, and the umbrella drink. That's,
Yes.
that's all I need.
Exactly. But right now, it really bothers me because we're in this hustle culture because that looks good. And I'm like, no, really, you want to be able to completely unplug and your business still runs. And that's
Yes,
ideal.
exactly. I love that. I know you have worked with a lot of businesses of different sizes over the years, and you talk about systems being the secret to actual freedom. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? We discussed the three phases. How do you know that you've achieved freedom?
So I'm going to say there's a few pieces to that. First of all, you need to identify what freedom is to you. I know everybody has this image of this magical world of your AI twin, and you want that AI world. Well, that's not real. That's not reality for most business
No.
owners. A business is a business, and you have to work on your business. We didn't get in. Coaching is not a passive income at
Yeah,
all.
no, no, it's not.
Doing something here. So you got to realize that there's really no work-life balance in that sense. Sometimes it's going to be higher and sometimes it's lower. It's really about accommodating what you want your life to be and identifying that. What does that time freedom look like? I'll give you a little story. I was a high ticket closer. I could make $30,000 in a month take home. That it was easy to do because I'm good at sales. But I had no work-life balance
Mm,
because I had to hit KPIs. I had to have so many calls. And there's a lot of variables when you're a salesperson because you might get crappy calls, you might not, people no show, things like that. But I didn't have a work-life balance because there's only so much time in a day.
exactly. And you have to keep certain things moving in order to achieve
Yes.
that close rate.
Yep. So that's where, when you know what you want your life to be like, I really want to have the ability. It's Halloween time. I want to go to my kid's Halloween party. I want to have flexibility, is really what I want because time freedom, unless you're just everything passive, it really doesn't work. I want flexibility because I love having my business. I love doing that, but I want the flexibility to be what I want it to be. So for me, my goal is 4 to 5 hours a day of work, but I can flex that whenever I need to. But I know every day what I need to do. For example, I have a YouTube channel. I know that what part of the month I'm going to do all my planning, when I'm going to do all my recording, and when I'm going to do all my batching and setting up of my content. I know what days I have my growth labs within my community that I need to be present at. And then I also know what my sales system looks like that I need to be active in or not so active in. If it's ads and it's just delivering to my scorecard, that's one thing. But when somebody does say, hey, I want to call, well,
I'm
what is that time
interested.
block?
Yeah.
Yes. What does that time block look like? So for me, and what I try to help people understand is if you can get down to that minimum amount of time, basically collapsing the things you need to do because you're organized, then you can say, I have that time freedom to do the other things that I want, but also that freedom to work on my business, not in my business.
Exactly. We are up on our first break already. Can you
All right.
believe? So I like to give a little bit of homework over the break.
Okay.
What do you think should be our first little bit of homework as we let them go to commercial?
One question I love to ask is what is that hair on fire problem you have? That's not my word, that's somebody else's, but what is that like? Oh my gosh, this is like the biggest problem in my business. Really just identifying what that is, and then we can work backwards. Is there a system for it? Is it a problem? Is it really the problem you think is the problem? But once you kind of work backwards from it, you can figure out a way to fix it or identify it or get the support you need, all different ways. But I think starting with that major problem that's really like, oh my gosh, my hair's on fire right now. What am I going to do about it? That helps what to do next.
Yeah, and sometimes they're the form of like this big burning like ball of chaos, and sometimes it's the annoying crap that just keeps happening.
Yeah.
I thought we solved this problem and it's back.
Yep.
So yeah, spend a little time with that and hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, check it out, the world here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales, and I am back with the amazing and wonderful Katie Hahn. And we gave a little bit of homework before the break, which was to think about what that hair on fire problem is. And that way, at least we've got that boogie monster in our sights, and we're not making up scary stories about it. We actually can look at it and assess what it is. And I know you work with a lot of women who've already got traction and they've got a business, it's going places, and they're working on scaling it. How do we know when we're not doing this as effectively as it needs to be done, or whether we're leaving money on the table? Because a lot of times it's easy to do that and not realize.
Oh, there's so many things I can talk about this, but the easiest place to identify leaving money on the table is in your sales process. Most people are not salespeople. And so when you get into coaching, you got in this generally for, or consulting, or even a solopreneur, it's really about your passion.
Mhm.
And sales can be really scary because there's a lot of things you don't like about it, and asking for a sale, it sounds yucky. So there's a lot of things that women in particular leave on the table, and I'll identify those. But throughout the rest of your business, there are tons of things that we can identify. That's why I did create that CEO scaling scorecard to start identifying them. The easiest way to figure out is if you're leaving money on the table is in the sales process. And the
Okay,
easiest way
hang
to
on.
do
The CEO scaling scorecard, we're going to make sure to
that.
put the link to that down in the show notes.
Yes, definitely. So, starting just from how you gather information, so many people leave these unanswered Instagram messages or messages, as well as if somebody fills out just getting on your email list. And those are opportunities. And if you have somebody who says, hey, I'm interested. Maybe we met online and they're like, oh, I'm interested to talk more. And you're like, oh, okay. If you didn't put it in the CRM, it didn't happen. Now,
Remind us what CRM stands
yes.
for.
So that is like your client relationship management tool. And I believe that is the hub of everything. And I have a couple sayings. First one is if it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen.
Hello.
And the other one is garbage in, garbage out. So if you only do half the job of putting the information in, you're going to get garbage out of this. And the reason I say that, and here's an example. So let's say somebody's in your DMs and they say, hey, I'm really interested to talk to you more. Okay, you could DM them back, but what happens? How do you remember to go back to them in the future? So, one, collecting their information and manually putting it in. It's okay to be manual. Like we have processes we can get to, but putting it in the CRM.
Yeah. And even being manual, right? Because a lot of us may not be starting out with email service providers, CRMs, all of these things. But there are, for example, plugins you can use with Gmail. I have one of these that's called Boomerang that
Mhm.
allows me to schedule messages for the future.
That's
So
right.
when we have this conversation of, I'm really busy right now, you should circle back with me in 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is, I can write that email today and schedule it for that time.
Exactly. And that's what a CRM, it's a way to take notes and put tasks in there for you to do at a later date, but also having a way to search those notes. I'm a big proponent of being able to tag people
Yes.
so that you can say, oh, who are all the people I met through DMs? And I can go back and say, oh, here's what I need to do. But also in your CRM, or even if you have more of a manual operation, if you have a date that you're setting, you can say, what is everything I need to do today?
Yes. And that's
And
a
so,
beautiful hit list to be able to go
yeah,
down.
and the reason why that's on my list of these invisible inefficiencies, because you're leaving money on the table with valuable conversations. If somebody says 2 weeks, talk to me, they're telling you 2 weeks is good. But if you don't follow up with that 2 weeks, that's on you. That's money on the table.
Yeah, and they're not going to come back in 2 weeks and go, "Oh, I seem to remember we were having this conversation," because the truth is we always think we'll be less busy in 2 weeks, but we're going to be equally busy in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's just crazy. Now, the same thing is if you have a great sales call and somebody says, hey, I'm not ready right now. If you don't take that information and put it in your CRM on when to follow up, or maybe you have a new offer or you're having a challenge or you're doing something and reaching back out to invite them back in or sending them new information, you're leaving money on the table because
Yeah.
you already have an audience. And I'm going to tell you, in sales side, it's so much easier to, with somebody you've already obtained as an audience to sell than it is to
Yes.
sell somebody new.
Absolutely. And so you're much better off reaching back out to that person than you are to go chase someone new.
And I'm going to tell you the reason that this becomes so important is down the line. So if you look at this, as I mentioned, I was a closer. I could hit my KPIs repeatedly month over month, even if I didn't have a full calendar from provided leads that were supposed to be scheduled on mine. And that is incredibly hard to do. And the secret is build a pipeline. And what we're talking about is building a pipeline. That means you have people who are coming in when you're going to follow up with them, but also down the line when they're ready, you have people to go back to, which
Right.
means you now have, no matter what, you can have that constant flow because ultimately what people do and why I think this is leaving money on the table is they just believe putting more and more at the top is the method. Really, it's not. You can do and have a very successful business with a smaller audience if you manage your pipeline appropriately and take away those little drop points and put in something to keep those touch points going.
Yeah, exactly. So to have a CRM where you can track who you had what conversation with, and then also if you can plug in like an email service provider for we're really not ready, we just love your content kind of folks, that they can hang out until they
Yep.
are ready. And you can provide them with the nuggets and whatever so they remember who you are
Yes.
instead
Stay
of you
on
reach
top.
out to them 3 years later and they're like, how'd I get on this list?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It is. And I'm going to say you can do them through tons of different methods of CRMs or Excel sheets. I'm going to tell you the easiest is just get a free CRM. Get a free one because it's so much harder to start later on and put
Yeah.
it in versus just starting fresh. You can always upgrade. They're going to
Yeah,
add,
exactly. They're happy to put you on a higher plan.
but you've already got it set up. And
Yeah,
that allows you that freedom to not have to do it later with a big audience in there because it's
yeah,
hard.
yeah, exactly. Who do you like for your starter CRMs?
It depends on your business and what you're going to do. I'm going to say this, I do not affiliate with them, so it doesn't matter in a way. I'm not a reseller, but GHL is by far the easiest. I know there's a cost associated with it, but the reason why I like it is if you are a coach or you have a community, you can do all of that there. So for me,
Yes.
I believe that's easiest. I'm going to tell anybody the best successful businesses are those that have low tech in them. That whole back from middle school days, keep it simple, stupid, that KISS method, that's
Yes.
exactly how you should run your business. Because the more tech you put in, the more other people you have to have do it, or that's how your time becomes divided. And
Yeah.
so if you keep it easy and streamlined, and that's why I do really just suggest for most people, unless you've got a team, way bigger things going on, and that could be over $100,000 a month. I wouldn't suggest doing anything besides a free one. HubSpot has a good free one, but GHL has a good one, especially if you have a
Yeah.
course tied to it. I would suggest that.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Go High Level as well. Also, not affiliated with them, but I have always tried to look for the simplest possible tech stack.
Mhm.
And if you go out and you piecemeal your tech stack, you get this pipe drive over here and Calendly over there, and you go to Kajabi for your community and all of this kind of stuff. You end up in this situation where some of the software doesn't want to talk to other parts of the software. It's hard to figure out where things are broken, and you end up with a tech bill that rapidly becomes a substantial 4 to 5 figures, and
Oh,
it'll just sneak right up on you.
mhm,
And the thing that I love about Go High Level, I started with Acuity
mhm.
scheduling because they could send the email reminders and do all the things better than anybody else I found on the market. They did a lot in their little tiny stack. And when I graduated from that, I tried a bunch of other stuff until I found Go High Level. And it's like, yes, I turned in a 5 figure tech stack for a low 4 figure tech
Yeah.
stack. This is much better.
So many people fail to realize is you're a business. And if you need to start acting like a business, and part of that is knowing the cost of what it costs you to run your business. And that
Yeah.
nut we talk about is you got to cover that nut. If you can't bring in enough money just to cover your tech stack, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to manage your tech stack, because so many people are not tech savvy in that sense, you're going to pay somebody who also you have to pay, and that increases that. So if you can keep it simple, it's way easier. And I'm going to say, Go High Level is not perfect. There are things from other softwares that I love, but you have to be willing to just say it's good enough. It takes the
Exactly.
edits away.
Exactly. And it does have a learning curve. Don't
Oh
get
yeah,
me wrong. It's not one of these things that you're going to open it up and go, oh, well, obviously this is how I do
oh
it.
yeah,
But there's amazing support from Go High Level. There are lots of great videos on YouTube, and you can find Go High Level specialists all
yes.
over the place on Fiverr or Guru or whoever you want to go. I don't even know if Guru is still a thing or if they got bought, but you know what I'm saying.
You can
You
put it
know,
out there. There's support out there that you can find. And that's really what it's about because the more money you're leaking to just band-aid and pretty much I call it the duct tape business model.
yeah,
You're duct taping all these things together. That's really not helpful to anybody. It's not going to ever allow you to
yeah.
scale.
Well,
And that's
and there are specialists out there who like do Go High Level for coaches,
yep.
for small business owners, for whatever. And so if you find one of those, you can oftentimes get a really affordable package because that's all they do.
Hmm. Yep.
So, yeah.
It's helpful just to find them, but ultimately keep it simple. That's all
Yeah,
you got.
exactly. As simple as humanly possible. But I like to put out there an option for the non-technical.
Mhm.
Me having spent my life in computers and you've been pretty deep in them too, it's easy for us to go, oh yeah, go high level.
Oh yeah.
But there could be some shock if you're not techie. And so knowing that there are affordable options around it, I think is important.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
And you're not going to reach that $10,000 tech stack.
That's a bad thing. Ultimately, you need to think of this. This is a business, and for a business to be profitable, I don't care if you're bringing in $1 million, but if you got 90% of that going away to
And
support all of
costs
that,
and yeah, it's
it's
not
not a
good.
business.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's charity. It's a non-for-profit.
That's right.
That's not why we started.
No.
So you have a framework that you call Climb, and we've got just like a minute or so before the break. Tell us what Climb stands for, and then after the break, we'll come back in and we'll break it down.
Okay. So climb is my 20 years all put into a framework. I've learned all the hard way. So it starts with clarity, leverage is the L, I is implement, M is measure, and B is benchmark. And after the break, I'll go into each one of those and how it applies to business and growth.
All right, sounds good. And let's see, what should our homework be over this break?
Back to your harebrained, this thing, that nuance, that or that big thing that's really driving you crazy. Is this something that you can provide somebody else to do, pay them to do it, a VA, anything? Is it that, or can you give it to tech of some kind? Is there a way? And you may not
Yeah.
have the answer.
Can you have somebody on Fiverr just automate the crap?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a possibility? And you may not know the answer, but it's good to think about, is it something you could do?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's easy to own these problems too deeply. It's like, I'm the only one who can figure out
Yeah.
how to. And I can remember early in my career, I had a boss because I was like the one who was always on the troubleshooting phone call, like directing the stuff. And he's like, we need more than one of you because I literally had two phones on my desk and one on my hip, and I would be on them simultaneously.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And he's like, you have to sketch out how you're doing this.
Mhm.
And so sometimes you have to kind of step back and go, okay, what is my process when I deal with this hairy thing? So that someone else can take on the hairy thing.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing, is sketch it out, because no
Yeah,
matter if you do it or somebody else does it, you need to see it. And I think the best way is just do it on pen and paper. I mean, back to old school, if you want to do it on Miro or something else, but back to pen and paper is going to really help you identify what you can automate or give to somebody else.
absolutely. And then someone can make it pretty for you later if
Yes.
you want. All right, so hang with us over the break and we'll be right back.
Oh, checked it out, the wolf here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales. I'm back with the amazing and wonderful Katie Hahn. And before the break, you asked us to spend a little time around that big, annoying problem that we have
Yes.
and kind of sketch it out and think about how can it be dismantled, delegated, automated, something like that. And you also promised to talk to us about climb.
Yes.
How would we apply climb to our hairy problem?
Okay, well, climb is a overall big structure. It's a
Yes.
framework to look at your overall business. But in parts of climb, you actually go ahead and map it out. And that's where C starts with. And it's clarify your offer, your business model. And I would suggest everybody understand what your business model is. I know so many people are like, oh, you don't need to know your business model. Well, you do. I think you do. And there's very important reasons why, because it helps with scaling. There's many parts to it. But
Why do we need to know our business model? Let's
so
just answer that.
my learning the hard way is that when you understand your business, you understand your inputs. You also know where to find people. But your business model really represents who you're talking to in a clear and defined way. And we talk about our niche in this space. But your business model is also on the other side and how you provide your service delivery, but also back to what we were talking before, how those costs of the service delivery model play into it, because you want to be able to see your revenue and understand, is this even a profitable business? Because
Yes, if I scale this, does it get better or does it get worse?
exactly. And then there's so many people who say, coaches out there that are like, oh, now you got to write a book or you got to start a podcast on top of what you're doing. Well, if you understand your core business model, how do now another business model relate and play into it? Because if you understand that, you can make better decisions about opportunities that come your way. Because adding more in doesn't equal more money, because your time is now shared. And so, really understanding your business model, if your ultimate goal is to be a writer or to have a podcast, you might want to reconsider what your current business model is if that's not the ultimate goal. Because why waste this audience that you're building over here if you can't use it somewhere else? So maybe it's just really understanding the bigger picture. And that's really back to that CEO level leadership. Because when you can see things, ultimately you're a business. And one thing that in this space that I'm going to say so many coaches are told and solopreneurs are, they're coached to create products. We're not a product. We are the product. We
Yeah.
are a business. And if you can operate like a business, there's opportunities to scale. You don't scale a product in the same way, and it's really hard. You can have a product that is part of your business, but it doesn't scale in the same way. You almost have to keep creating products, which is not a scalable method.
Yeah.
It's way easier to have a product that you can then take and add a book onto that supports your product, and then have a podcast that talks about it, which is all one ecosystem. And that's really understanding it. And that, because what you're going to get out of it is now you have a business model, a client strategy, your pricing model, and it builds a strong foundation. Because once you have that, you can evaluate different opportunities as they come to you, but now you can start leveraging systems. So we talked about a CRM. If I know these are other things that I'm going to want to do, and maybe you don't know, but that's okay. But like, if I want to do this, how am I going to operate and manage all of these things? So I want to be able to
Well, and I think the C kind of what I want to say, if you apply your clarity effectively, it helps you to make decisions about these shiny objects that will show
oh
up in your
yeah.
email box and your social feed. It's like, oh, you need this. You need to write a book overnight and it'll
Oh yeah.
change your business. Well, yeah, if you're really clear about where you're going, that kind of stuff is less
Mm-hmm.
of a siren song.
It exactly. And that is why clarity was, I mean, I had all different letters and things like that of what it could be, really clarifying what your business model is and clarity on what you do changes everything. Because if you can't implement the things that you want to on top of it, it's kind of like building a house of cards.
Yeah.
And I've worked for lots of large coaches behind the scenes as well as a salesperson for them, and they built a house of cards because they didn't have that strong foundation. It was just a new shiny object, and that doesn't work. And I understand that from a business perspective, that you got to start with that, because you really can't start to leverage and implement things that you would like to grow to remove yourself if you don't have that strong foundation and that understanding. Now, I say all this, and I'm going to clarify this real quick. If you're under, I don't know, I'm going to say $10,000 a month reoccurring,
Right.
of bringing in, being able to do that each month, you're still in that fail fast phase. Things are a little
Yes.
different for you. When you're making 50K or more, 30K a month, you're in this phase of really putting this framework to work, because you've already got the testing out of the way. You set the hypothesis, but now you can start leveraging systems, implementing, and having key performance indicators that are going to tell you things that you can start to make data driven decisions from, that are going to support your growth. And then when you can start to measure and analyze, this is when you're really taking yourself from stabilization to optimization, because you're optimizing those different systems that you have. And then you can benchmark and
Yeah.
improve improve everything, but it's really for sustainable growth. Because ultimately, and this is another thing that I find out there, those shiny objects, they're telling you something. I'm going to say, put in a low ticket offer. That works when you're over $100,000 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
It does not work because it's called a loss leader for a reason. And if you put that in and you're under that dollar amount, you're going to lose money. Now, if you got money to burn, go ahead. But that is not
Yeah,
it's
most
not right.
people starting out do not have money to burn. They need to know when they put a marketing dollar out, it's coming back with friends.
Right. And that's where really making these decisions come in play. And if you understand what your business model is, because really you should keep it simple. The KISS model up front, until you're at 50K, you don't need anything complex. No complex funnels, none of that. You just need to figure it out, fail fast, get it figured out. And then once you get there, then you can start really figuring out, okay, what are my KPIs? Where am I at? Am I out of chaos? Can I move on? Those are the things that, why the framework works, is because once you know that this is tested and proven, you now have the foundation that's going to be strong, that's going to allow for growth, because that's the only way you can allow for growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So we went greatly into C, and then I think we skated over LIMB.
I can tell you, do we have enough time?
Let's see, we've got 6 minutes. Let's
Okay.
just remind briefly of those.
Okay, so we did climb clarifying your business model and your offer and kind of strategy. L is leveraging systems and like really automating for stability. So that's the movement into from chaos into stabilization. This is freeing up time. That's delegating if you have a team. But ultimately, I would say do as much as possible with the smallest amount of team members, because that's the best way to grow. Because
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you're in the early stages, you don't need someone permanent a lot of times. What you
oh,
need is someone with this particular skill set for this particular little job.
and ultimately, I'm going to say this as a salesperson, every person who's running a business should do sales for a while, because you can never manage a salesperson if you didn't do it. It will
Yeah.
fail, because people are sneaky and smart, and they know exactly how to manipulate their KPIs. I am one, and I can say that with all the love and support. Let me tell you, that's a thing you need to be able to do so that you can be successful. Because once you put that in, that's leveraging your time. Because if you step away from sales calls, that frees up a lot.
Yeah.
But you have all the information. Sales calls are gold, absolute gold. And that's how you can start to support the client results now. You move from doing the sales calls to supporting their expectations.
Yeah.
So once you move to implementing, that's really knowing what's working, and start tracking and implementing those pieces that are going to allow you to measure your KPIs, and setting KPIs that are relevant for your business as well. Because once
Yes.
you have KPIs, now you have data driven decisions that can support your growth, not guesswork.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
think that's really for me that point between going into stabilization to optimization. That's really making those decisions, because once you're in M, which is measuring, you're optimizing, but you're just fine tuning, because you are able to look at it. You're not involved in the business day to day in the same way you are when you're starting out, when you're in chaos phase.
I love
So,
that.
yes.
So that is fabulous. And if somebody wants to go like deeper on that with you or learn more about how your work is coming out into the world, how is your work coming out into the world?
So I business decision number one for me was that I needed a business model that worked for me. And that's what we talked about. And part of that is Facebook was too much. Content, being organic content is really hard, especially when I don't want to be a content creator. I want to be a business owner.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you don't want to spend 25 hours every week just putting out content.
So you can find me over on YouTube. Evergreen content that relates exactly to this topic. And so I am at coach underscore Katie Hahn, that you can find me at YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. It's my name. It's han.katie29, but you can find me at
Yeah.
Katie Hahn.
And we'll have all of this in the show notes.
But really, what I want people to be able to do is get a hold of me. So I do have a website, katiehahncoach.com. And in there, there's different ways you can reach me. You can schedule, hey, let's just talk about this. But I want you to be able to get something and to get that clarity, because ultimately it's hard for me to talk to people if they don't have that clarity themselves, because when their hair is on fire but they don't know where to go, I can only help so much. So I created something that I wish I had a really long time ago.
There you go.
Um, because I was like, who didn't tell me about this? I created, we talked about before, it's the CEO scaling scorecard. And really it came out of, what phase are you in? And are you in chaos, stabilization, and optimization? That really helps me dive in, because then there's different things you do at different spots. And ultimately, what the chaos scorecard does for you is it gives you instant results of where you're at and what actions you can take next. Because with that, then I want to be able to talk to you. And I put in there that you can just schedule a call with me and we'll go over it. No strings attached. My goal is to be there to help provide information that I didn't have when I got started, and hopefully allow you to grow. And if you find that my information is valuable, we'll find a common way to work together. But ultimately, the goal is to say, you're not alone. And we're all going through this. I'm doing it again now by myself, but here's something that worked for me to actually identify where I was at and what I could have used 20 years ago when I first started.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's amazingly useful bit of information right there. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I think I know where I'm at, but it's sort of like wandering around the mall and you run into one of these maps, but it doesn't have the "you are here" little
Mm-hmm.
sticker on it. And it's like, let me see if I can find out where I'm located at.
And I think back to clarity. Everything comes back to understanding where you are. Because if you're think you're in stabilization, but you're in chaos, you're not applying the right tactics and strategies to get you out of it. And none of this is a failure. This is a phase. This is
Yeah,
just a natural phase and it's okay. But it's just like anything. I relate a lot of this to being a parent. Like I had no idea what in the world I was doing. Good thing I had two more kids after my oldest one because I at least had a kind of a guide. I already knew what to do. But with that, once you know where you're at, you can say, I'm in this phase. This is the toddler phase. And here's what I need to do to get out of it. I got to wait 2 years and then we're good. Or,
exactly.
whatever.
I have
It's,
learned how to deal with toddlers who throw themselves on the floor and flail around. Yes.
yeah. I learned to deal without sleep for a while. And that's part of being in chaos. But it's okay because there's a way out of it in a time frame in which you can either collapse or if you need to extend it, I guess. I wouldn't suggest it. I would talk about precision and collapsing that because there's a way out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always easier and more exciting to move forward when you can really see that light at the end of the tunnel and you're not going, is it a light or is it a train?
Oh, yeah. And the difference is you can feel the transition from chaos to stabilization, and then the transition from stabilization to optimization. It is like a complete, it's like getting out of the toddler stage with your kids. It's like, oh, I did it. I made it through it.
Yay! Thank you so much for coming and joining us today, Katie. I've really appreciated everything you've shared.
Oh, thank you very much. I am so excited to be here. And as I mentioned, I just want to be that resource and help people build their business they want and really just make sure that you have the right resources for growth in a way in which is going to build that business for you.
I love that. And thank you for coming and joining us here today. I know you could invest your time a great many ways, and I appreciate that you've chosen to invest it here in this discussion with us today. I would love to hear from you. You can like, subscribe, put notes in the comments, or you can send me an email to Zofia, Zofia, at steminstilettos.com. And just let me know what you thought, what you loved, what you didn't love, who else you'd like to see me talk to. And until next week, go out, be bold, be authentically you, and be that amazing blessing and light on the earth that you are. And we'll see you next week.